Finding Wholesomeness. Today we're just going to look at a portion of the story of Amos because there's some really cool content in there. So some of the background on this before we get started is that Amos was a shepherd when God started to give him visions about what was going to happen. So he went out and he prophesied and told the people and their leaders this terrible thing was going to happen. He was warning them. But look at their response to this. Amos chapter 7, verses 12 through 13. When Amaziah sent orders to Amos, "Get out of here, you prophet. Go on back to the land of Judah and earn your living by prophesying there. Don't bother us with your prophecies here in Bethel. This is the king's sanctuary and the national place of worship." So Amos was giving them a message, and it was clear that they knew that he was giving them a message from God because they referred to him as a prophet. But they still didn't listen to him, and I think that part of the reason that he was sent away was because of the nature of the message. It was basically that the people were going to be sent out into exile and that the king would be killed. And this was a message that no one really wanted to hear. So instead of listening to him and preparing themselves for the coming events, they ignored him because they wanted to maintain their own way of life. We do this all the time. We reject the truth and we replace it with happy fantasies. If news is coming from an opposing political party, we are really quick to say that it's not right or it's false or it's not true. But how often do we actually research that for ourselves? It's just so much easier to say that it's wrong without doing any research. We hear what we want to hear and we interpret things how we want to interpret them. But how we interpret things isn't always true. This is what Amaziah was doing. He didn't want to hear the truth, so he told Amos to leave. He ignored the truth. And when he ignored the truth, he wasn't prepared for what was going to happen next. And I find this kind of weird because Amaziah was a priest. He worked for the same God that Amos did, but there was one major difference in how they follow God. Amos was called and he listened to what God was saying and he shared it and he did what God told him to do. Amaziah worked in the temple and he was probably very well versed in the scriptures, but when Amos gave him a message from God, Amaziah refused to listen. He told Amos to get out and prophesy elsewhere because Bethel was the place of worship. Amaziah, he worshipped God and he probably taught people about God, but he wasn't listening to God. And there's a difference between worship and obedience. There has to be both. I've quoted this verse before and you're probably really bored of it by now, but James chapter 2 verse 14, "What good is it, dear brothers and sisters, to say you have faith but don't show it by your actions? What can that kind of faith save anyone?" And the answer is that it can't. You can worship, and I'm not trying to downgrade worship because worship is really important, but equally as important is what you do with the faith that you have. And doing this means listening to what God is trying to tell you through the people that God has sent to send you the message. "Get out of here, prophet," he said. "This is the place of worship. Prophesy somewhere else." But Bethel wasn't the place of worship. Bethel means house of God. God sent a man with a prophecy from him, but his followers didn't believe him. They were standing in the literal house of God, but Amaziah rejected the message that God sent. Sometimes God can't even send a message to his own home without us rejecting what he said. Sometimes God can't even send a message to his followers without us saying no. But we need to learn to accept God's messages to us because they are important. The thing is that what Amos said came true. The people were sent out into exile. The land was divided and the people were killed, all because the people didn't listen to what God was saying through Amos. Therefore, if someone has a message from God, or if you have been sent a message from God, make sure that it gets heard. Because in this crazy world that we live in, who knows what could happen next? If they had listened to Amos, they might have been able to prepare a little bit or save themselves, but they didn't. So it's also equally as important to listen to the message that was sent out through the other people, because who knows what could happen at this point. Thanks for watching this video. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to leave them in the comments because I do read them and I want to hear from you guys. I'll see you guys later. Bye.